Hello, everybody. Happy day after Christmas if you celebrate Christmas, or happy holidays if you are celebrating another holiday. This is Nanette Kennedy with Humanities Team and the Evolution Revolution. We are reading What God Said by Neale Walsch, and today is December 26th. So Linda is our reader, and as soon as you start reading, I need to go get up again and go get my Kindle. So also, just an FYI, I have the last 4 recordings on my other computer, which is very ill. I'm hoping that I can get it fixed on Monday. So I'll be sending you guys a slew of what the end of the only thing that matters. So I haven't forgotten. All right, take it away, Linda.
Okay, hello everyone. So we are reading What God Said by Neale Walsch. We're on chapter 3, which starts on page 12. And I'm going to turn my video off so we have a good clean feed. Some of those messages are crystal clear and some beg for clarification. Most of us can probably agree, for instance, that it is not necessary to compete for, much less fight over, our resources. On the other hand, we might have a difficult time with the idea that there are no victims or villains in the world, even if the statement is qualified in a spiritual sense. Especially in a spiritual sense, we have believed that right and wrong are intrinsic parts of the universal scheme of things, of the law of God, if you will. And most people cannot conceive of a world with no moral absolutes. In fact, what many people think is wrong with the world today is that there seem to be fewer and fewer moral absolutes. This creates a major problem. Many human beings don't appear to know how to exist with no one outside of them telling them what to do and what not to do. It's hard enough to find happiness in a world where someone does that, where someone does. What would we do without any rules at all? And what would restrain us if there were no judgment, condemnation, punishment, especially in the spiritual sense? So we see that the difficulty with and the bigger challenge of the Conversations of God material is that it pulls the underpinning from humanity's moral constructions and ideas about God. Never mind that those constructions and religious dogmas have done too little to produce a world free of hatred, violence, and fear. Never mind that those moral values and teachings about God have failed to eliminate suffering, reduce abject poverty, or even do something as simple as end hunger on our planet. Did you know that 6 million children die every year on Earth from starvation? That's fact, not polemic. We get terribly upset, and we should, when a man with a gun kills 20 children in a school. But we sit by and watch 684 children die every hour of hunger and allow it to go on. There's nothing we say that we can do about it. It is sadly true that when it comes to our global values and the religions from which they emerge, the majority of the world's people have refused to do what they have allowed themselves to do in every other arena of human endeavor.
Hey, Linda.
Yeah?
You're hard to hear, and there's some sound like paper rattling or something in the back.
Okay, hang on a second. I was trying to do something on the side. Hang on, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
Do I need to back up? Nanette, do I need to back up?
maybe just a couple of sentences.
Okay. Okay. Did you know that 6 million children die every year on Earth from starvation? That's fact, not polemic. We can get terribly upset, and we should, when a man with a gun kills 20 children in a school, but we sit by and watch 684 children die every hour of hunger and allow it to go on. There's nothing, we say, that we can do about it. It is sadly true that when it comes to our global values and the religions from which they emerge, the majority of the world's people have refused to do what they have allowed themselves to do in every other arena of human endeavor. In science, they have encouraged it. In medicine, they have encouraged it. In technology, they have encouraged it. But when it comes to religion, presumably the most important area of all, they actively discouraged it. And what is it that people in science, medicine, and technology routinely do when it comes to religion that they stubbornly refuse to do? Question the prior assumption. Leave the apples where they are. Apple cart upsetting is not something that people on this planet like to do. They don't want anyone tampering with their most sacred beliefs. Even in those beliefs are clearly and demonstrably wrong or obviously and totally ineffective in producing the outcomes they espouse or predict, human beings will cling to their beliefs with a stubborn rigidity that is both shocking and appalling. For instance, did you know that paleontological and archaeological discoveries of the past quarter century notwithstanding, surveys show that over 40% of this planet's population continue to believe the world is no more than 10,000 years old? People believe what they want or need to believe in order to support their previously held point of view. In a startling number of instances, it truly is a case of don't bother me with the facts. Nowhere is this in greater evidence than in the arena of religion. We know what we know about God, and we don't want to hear anything else. And there's a powerful reason for this. Our thoughts about God form the bedrock of our entire understanding of life. This is true even for those who have no belief in God at all. So whether people are believers or non-believers, their thoughts about God create a foundation upon which many build their entire moral code. Understandably then, new thoughts, new ideas, new concepts about God are not easily welcomed or enthusiastically embraced by most folks. A new truth about God would be, for agnostics, atheists, and adherents alike, the great apple cart upsetter of all time. Flying into the window pane. Since most people want to leave their religious beliefs alone, we find ourselves insisting on building a life in the first quarter of the 21st century with first century spiritual tools. In medicine, this would be like trying to perform surgery with a very sharp stick. In technology, it would be like trying to send a rocket to the moon with a spark of a flintstone. In science, it would be like trying to conduct an experiment in a cave by the light of a small fire. Still, leaving our religious beliefs untouched could make sense if those tools were working. Yet we are not allowed to even question if they're working. The problem is not with the tools, we tell ourselves. The problem is that we are not using them. Even the keen observer would realize that the problem is exactly the opposite. The problem is that we are using them, and we are using them against each other. Thus, the tools of our ancient religions have proven ineffective, to put it mildly, in creating a world of peace, harmony, sufficiency, and dignity for all. What is wrong here? This is the question we are not supposed to ask. We are supposed to keep on doing the same thing we have always done, expecting to get a different result. And that, of course, is the definition of insanity. Like flies against a window pane, we keep banging our heads against that which we do not see, or in our case, which we refuse to see. That there must be something fundamentally flawed in our beliefs about God and about life, or we would be way past where we are now in terms of our social and spiritual development. We would not live on a planet where people still kill each other in order to resolve their differences. We would not live on a planet where people still die of starvation by the millions, while enough food is thrown into the garbage every day to feed half the population. We would not live on a planet where 5% of the population holds or controls 90% of the wealth and resources and considers this perfectly okay. We would not live on a planet where every human, every man for himself, is actually considered preferable to all for one and one for all. What are we willing to do? Yet we do live on such a planet. And so the question is, are we willing to continue all of this? Are we willing to just go on? Hang on a second. Hang on a quick second. Are we willing to just go on as we have been, bequeathing to our children and to theirs a world that can unlock the mysteries of the human genome, but cannot unlock the love within the human heart? We say we are not. We say we want a better life and to produce a better life for our offspring. But what are we willing to do about it? Are we willing to do the bravest thing of all? Are we willing to challenge our most sacred beliefs? Are we willing to consider the possibility that there may be something we do not fully understand about God and about life, the understanding of which could change everything, would change everything? Are we willing to consider, to at least explore new ideas, new thoughts, new constructions within the human story? Even if on the surface they seem to contradict what we think we already know about God and life, can we at least explore their possibilities? Must we dismiss every new concept, every new hypothesis out of hand simply because it does not agree with the story we have been telling ourselves for centuries and millennia? No, we do not have to. And a civilization that hopes to advance cannot afford to. Thus, the messages here become extraordinarily important, for only when we are all open to all ideas are all possibilities open to us. End of chapter.
Thank you very much. Who would like to start?
Well, I feel like this last 2 years has sort of ripped the Band-Aid off of some of this. You know, that a lot of more people are at least aware of some of these things now. I don't know that we've made progress in the direction we want to, but it seems like a lot of these things he touched on are a lot rawer and it's a longer list.
Agreed. I was thinking about my sister, one of my sisters, who picked up Conversations with God, book 2, because the library didn't have book 1. And I said, really, you need to start with book 1. And actually, what I'm thinking now is it might be easier if she were to read this book first, so that it gives her a highlight of what's to come, as it were, because it is material that we have read. Over. Mirko?
Hi everybody, and my observation from my point of view here in Italy today, that we are the next day of Christmas, is that we are talking here about a paradigm. When we talk about beliefs, we are talking about a paradigm that is a way to see things, to see our lives. And in the past days, I talked about this with Neale in his program, because a person, a marketing manager, wrote to me that not everybody of us has a soul. The soul has to be built, and we don't have it by default. And we are here for this in Italy. We are talking people in Italy. What we always had is the divine spark, but has nothing to do, or almost nothing, with the soul. So Neale, of course, said the opposite, that everything has a soul. And so I think that this is like Neale said yesterday in his message of Christmas. All this chapter is saying that we have to make a choice in our life. We have to choose if we think that we are physical beings, like the actual paradigm is telling us, at least in Italy, but I think in all the world, what I see on the internet it's all about what I get, what I have, what I can show to others. Otherwise, I am nothing. I don't think that this is the right paradigm. And I finish. So I think my suggestion is that if we decide, we individually decide that we are not our bodies, but we have our bodies and we are spiritual entities, we can solve this chapter in a blink of an eye, because the economy will change tomorrow. Think about this.
Mhm.
And I finish my space with a quote by Rumi that I offered to this marketing manager in the past days in response to his idea that we don't have the soul by default. And Rumi said that beyond the ideas of wrong and right, there is a field. I will meet you there. I finish.
I love that quote. Thank you.
Me too.
Mary?
Yeah, I wanted to say that one of the things that came to me during the chapter is like people who are religious and do seem to care about other people within the context of you know, we're supposed to take care of other people, that often extends no further than the others in their tribe, right? The others in their family or within the context of their church or religion. I've seen this a lot. You know, if you belong to a certain religion, they will take care of you. But if you step a toe out of line, like even with the Amish in this country, they literally shun you, you know? And it's the same in a lot of religions in my experience, not necessarily the shunning, but like, you know, they'll close around the people in their community who need help, raise the barn figuratively and literally. But if you're outside of their community, you do not deserve their concern or consideration or care. That I think is a big problem, is I call it tribalism, you know. It's the same thing with governments who only care about their own people, if that, and don't care about like the people in Africa or wherever who are suffering. And also the first book I ever read was called Friendship with God, because I was in the bookstore looking at the books and I thought, oh, that sounds fun. I want to have a friendship with God. And, you know, it was okay. I didn't have a problem with the concepts, but that could also just be who I am. And I agree that this book is a great book to start with. Over.
Thank you. Dima or Romy or Ariana or Vilma?
I can say something.
Okay.
It reminds me, I just was reminded about when I studied comparative religions at the university. And I remember there was also about, there was a research about mystical experiences when you have that oneness feeling with God. And they have studied research about that, was a research, and they found that a woman or a person that has had that experience could understand another person, no matter what religion or what culture it was. If they had it, they could understand each other beyond separation. But if they hadn't had that experience, they couldn't understand it. So, and every religion is going for that we should experience the divine within us. And when we do that, we change, or that is what humanity is here for. That's how I feel. So, yeah, over.
Thank you. Ariana or Romy or Ann Derby, who's kind of hiding there. Does anybody else want to say anything before I go back to Mirko?
And no, I was thinking about one thing, that for people is hard to find the love in their hearts. Maybe this is the main problem, but I have this in everyday life, to find love in my heart. I don't know, for my husband, not so much for other people. I think that in practical everyday life is not easy always to love. And it's not easy always to love persons you are with. Maybe it's an effect of choice in the beginning, but I have this everyday problem, domination in the house from him and so on. Like Jesus said, love your, how to say, brother, or I don't know in English, like yourself. But I have this problem. I love my mother, I love my son, but I don't love my husband every day. Maybe sometimes yes, maybe sometimes no, I don't know. Actually, in this moment, the closest physically, but I have this problem. And not so much with other people. I don't know. I think that is strange sometimes in the life, with whom we connect and why. And so, well, I don't know if we always understand this. Well, over.
I understand that. And I want to just say, and I'll be very candid about this. I've been married 4 times and I am not getting married again. It just, I don't know. It's not for me. But that's all I'm going to say about that. Okay. Merkel, we're going to make it quick. Oh, go ahead, Fiona. Or who was it? Anne?
Oh, it was Anne. I was
Yeah.
going to say something.
Okay, go
Just
ahead.
say something quick. What I was sort of pondering on something today, and I feel what takes me away from loving is judgment. And when like we don't share, you know, it's like beliefs, isn't it? We've got a different belief structure, you know, like I suppose my niece, I feel like she believes in a financial security, which is a good thing probably. And I have a belief in a well, it doesn't sound very sort of substantial, but that somehow things work out in divine timing. So of course there's no meeting in these things, and we both have insecurities, so that creates like a dominate, you know, basically domination, like what Ariana was saying. Oh God, you know, oh, I don't know. Anyway, that's where I'm at. I'm just feeling that I'm glad about what Bima said, finding God inside of ourselves. And what I'm working on is, okay, let me notice the judgment now that I am doing, and let me like drop it, don't feed it, and let me work in my own understanding of divine timing, gently, the way I know, trusting it'll work out somehow. That's what I'm going to add. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just think what Bima said, it comes very close to what I feel. But I feel every time when I don't feel the part of godness in me, then I even can't feel it in the outside. And then these are the moments when I start to judge, or just to not to be aligned with other people, and to, yeah. I mean, but in the moment when I'm in, I think I'm not sometimes I'm recognizing it and say, okay, stop for myself, and I have to stop. And sometimes if something goes too fast, then I think I'm not able to be aware of. But when I act in a slower way, or if I don't feel to act, I'm just listening or I'm observing, then I'm much more aligned with myself, and then I'm much more centered, or I can also call it I'm in the middle, I think, yeah, and then I'm fine. And I think it's every time when I see in the outside obstacles or everything, it's just when I'm not aligned with myself. And I think it's a good measurement to know then when I'm outside with other things and start to arguing, also that I stop myself and say, hey, just stop for a moment and breathe, and come back to yourself. And then I don't have to go the same road or the same path again and again, and then saying to myself, why did it go this way and not another? I already know the answer. If I go the old way, it will also create me the obstacles. They are already always have been created. Over.
Thank you, Romy. you actually hit a few good spots, and I appreciate that. And I do think there's something about that when you said you take a breath or a few breaths, and then you decide to move forward after that. And it's like when you put your hands like in the namaste, if you move it down to your heart, right in front of your heart, if you do that when you're having some troubles, that'll work too. So it's just an idea. Okay, Mary, and then Mirko, and then we're going to get back to the book.
You kind of touched on what I wanted to say, Nanette, because I've mentioned here before the meditation I do where I, center my consciousness in my heart and then look not at you, the physical, but at your heart. And I think that when we're having conflicts with people, that can be a good thing to do, is just try to look from heart to heart. And I know that that's harder in an intimate relationship that you're in with someone every day when there's challenges and probably, dynamics. But that's all I wanted to say, is my heart to heart looking is a very good way to get to that place that you were talking about, Romy, with the breathing and all of that, and you with the namaste. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mirko.
My answer to, for example, to Ariana, when she said that has some challenges to love his husband, is the answer that Neale gave to me, and that I gave to this person that I talked before, that if we look at life and so at love with the mind, I think like the only thing that Mother said, that we can't go ahead in our evolution, and we can't see the perfection that is the secret for me to be loving and to love even a person, for example, in our family, in our relationship, in our work. I think that we, like I said before, if we go out of our mind and if we go with the soul, and we have an understanding that is the path for love. If we can understand why, for example, your husband, I don't know who is, but for example, why your husband is doing something that is not lovable, if I can understand that love is all there is, said the previous book, the only thing that matters. So probably today we are talking about beliefs. I think that your husband, to make the example, your husband have some beliefs. If you can understand what are these beliefs, you can love your husband every time, because he is loving his beliefs. We are, in my opinion, belief systems machine. And so I finish. I think that today Neale is talking very much about the idea of idea heroes. And today, the next day of Christmas, is more real, because yesterday, for example, all people, we know that in the First World War, in the day of Christmas, the war was stopped for a day because it was Christmas. This is incredible if you think people can love their enemies for one day, because why? Because they decide to love. It's a decision. Christmas is a day that we can we can actually extend to all days if we choose. the thing is that we are not choosing this. And it takes some ideas, heroes, to be bold. I don't know in English, bold, to have courage today, to be out of mind and to go with the soul. And I have finished.
Thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
if I can only send
Sure.
one sentence.
Yes.
Thank you. I don't know, maybe it's challenge of my whole life because I had a lot of problems with my father, loving my father. I don't know how was him about him. My first husband, the catastrophe, and second husband. Maybe it's challenge of my life with men. I think so.
No, it's an opportunity. Ariana, the thing is that we are talking about all the Sundays, is that you have to, my understanding of the Chivuji messages is that we have to change our perception in order to change our experience. So if you see these challenges like you are talking about, you change the word with which you describe and say that is an opportunity, not a challenge, an opportunity for you. Like in my life, for example, in my work with people that, with mafia, with all things going on, I today have come to a place of see this as an opportunity for me to demonstrate, to choose and to demonstrate who we really are. So if you'd like in the next meeting, I asked to Neale to explain me the word compassion. For me, is the most powerful way to see love, compassion, because Neale said to me that
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want to get some more reading in here. And that'd be a good idea to ask Neale what he says about that. And it's nice of you to have the compassion towards Ariana. Linda, would you like to go ahead with the next chapter?
I'll do a little reading. I just want to say before we start that we love for our divinity, for people's divinity. We don't love their behavior, right? Behavior is a signpost for where someone is in their journey and how open or shut down they may become, or may have become, or might become as a result. So when we're judging people, we're not in that place of loving their divinity. Because a person is not their behavior. I just wanted to say that before. And as unlovable as people can be, if we're all one, then by judging them, we're breaking that oneness, right? We're moving into a place of separation. That's all. Okay, chapter 4. Let me see. I'm just going to thumb through it real quick and see. Oh, I think we can get through it. I think it's not that long. I think we can get through it.
Perfect.
There is good news here. Today, as the world faces economic crisis, political upheaval, civil unrest, social breakdown, societal breakdown, environmental degradation, spiritual confusion, ongoing conflict, and war, people everywhere are finding the courage to not leave their religious beliefs alone. They are searching for new guideposts, new insights, new answers, new ways of being human. Most of all, a small but growing number of people are now yearning for new ways of understanding and relating to God, because they have come to a new awareness that humanity's ideas about God greatly impact, and in some cases even create, its ideas about humanity itself, about who we are in relationship to each other, and about how life works. And it is clear now, today more than ever, because of our ability to see ourselves, to communicate with our entire world in an instant, that some of our old ideas are no longer functional. It is doubtful that they were ever functional, but it didn't matter in the past, not on a global scale. because things kept going, life went on. But now things can't keep going anymore, not as they have been. Too much is known by too many, too fast. Our old ways of doing things, our old ways of being, are no longer even considered partially functional by a part of the world. And this is what people everywhere are beginning to at last not to acknowledge. In the past, one place on the earth could hide its dysfunction from another place. Now we all know everything about what's going on everywhere. This makes dysfunction harder to hide and harder for the world at large to tolerate. Too many of us are seeing our self-inflicted wounds, and we're also seeing that we're running out of Band-Aids. We can't just keep patching everything together. We're running out of fertile soil in which to plant our crops. We're running out of cooler, damper climate to stop our earth from parching. We're running out of pure water. We're running out of clean air. And we're running out of things to ignore, ways to ignore all of this. We're running out of money to make things better. We're running out of time in which to do it. Worst of all, some people are running out of the will to do it as they sink deeper and deeper into fear and frustration, thinking that the only solution is to turn on each other rather than to each other. This group does not belong to you. You're not among those who believe this, or you would never have picked up this book. You're among those who are clear that it's not too late to change this, even if you don't exactly know what you can do, what you can play in doing it. More on that later. What you do know is that what must be accompanied now or accomplished now is the complete overhaul of our way of being. Not a small task, but not impossible. Our species has experienced such a complete recreation of itself before, a renaissance, a rebirth, if you will. And this renaissance need not take 300 years and can be accomplished in 1/10 of the time, precisely because of the instantaneous and transparent nature of our modern day communication, a condition that I call instaparency. It's like a cross between instant and transparency. I want to suggest that our turnaround might best begin with a new writing, an expansion of our cultural story, of the words that we tell ourselves about ourselves, of the lessons we teach our children about the reason and purpose for life itself, and most important of all, of the narratives we share with everyone about what we call God. This is where the power lies. This is where the leverage is. This is where we find the fuel that drives the engine of the human experience. Yet what new divinely inspired addition to our hallowed human story could capture our attention and cause us to even consider changing our age-old behaviors? That is the question. What new ideas from God could be as powerful and as inspiring, as exciting and as motivating as those of Lao Tzu or of Buddha, of Moses or of Jesus, of Muhammad or of Krishna? What expansion of our story could be as moving, as life impacting, and as experience changing as the message of the belief systems and religions to which the followers of those teachers gave birth? That has been the key question for a very long time. What new ideas could expand our ancient story sufficiently to offer brand new possibilities for an entire species? It's not about rejection or abandonment. I come here to respectfully suggest that the contemporary ideas of what I have come to call the new spirituality might offer one outline for those additions. They could at least offer a basis for opening discussions, for beginning explorations. This will not happen, however, if people see such explorations as a rejection or abandonment of humanity's ancient story. For we hold that story dear to our hearts, as we well should. It has, after all, gotten us this far. So it should be made clear that at the outset, that conversations with God never suggest such a thing. Indeed, it makes the opposite point. Much of what has been given to us by our world's religions is valuable and good. That is why religion itself has lasted so long. If religions have produced conflict between people, it is not because their teachings are wrong, but because they may be incomplete. It is my observation that many human beings are as children who have learned to add and subtract, but have not yet heard about multiplication and long division, to say nothing of geometry, trigonometry, and calculus. Yet they think they know all there is to know about mathematics. There may be much more to be revealed about God and about life than we now assume, and I believe it is a mistake to imagine that we have in hand everything there is to know on these subjects. The intention of conversations with God is not, therefore, to reject wholesale or completely abandon humanity's old ideas about the divine and about life, but to add to, build on, extend, widen, broaden, deepen, clarify, and enrich our ancient story. Ending the blockade. There is no need for this expansion of our original understanding to generate rage, much less block us forever as we seek to move forward on our spiritual voyage, any more than expanded scientific, medical, or technical understandings have blocked us forever from advancing in our evolutionary journey. Yes, there have been some stumbling blocks. There have been some delays on the evolutionary journey of science, medicine, and technology, but nothing that we have allowed to stop us completely. It took us a while to admit that the sun did not revolve around the earth. It took us a while to acknowledge that washing our hands before delivering babies could decrease infant mortality. It took us a while to get that computers need not pose a threat to human beings, but ultimately, we embraced these and other advancements and stepped forward. We didn't throw out the whole of our scientific knowledge to accept a new discovery. We didn't throw out the whole of our medical knowledge to adopt a new procedure. We didn't throw out the whole of our technical knowledge to apply a new development. We simply enfolded the new within the old, allowing ourselves to modify and expand our understandings. And then we marched on, all the better for it. It is time now for us to do the same with religion. End of chapter.
Thank you. We only have a couple minutes left. Like 4 minutes. And I don't want anybody to be too lengthy, but if you've got like a 30-second comment you'd like to give, and then we can get a couple of people in. Okay. Let's go ahead and have Mary do the closing. And I do hope if everybody had a wonderful Christmas day. And I was thinking about you guys yesterday. So anyway, Mary, would you like to do your thing?
Sure. Thank you all for being here on this day, the day after Christmas. And like Mirko says, you know, in this chapter, we can choose to carry that spirit with us throughout the year. And what does that take? That takes being willing to focus on the love in our hearts and recognizing the connectedness of all of life, and that we are all here in the same boat on this, you know, planet Earth spaceship hurtling through space. It's the only home we have. And the other people and beings on it with us, you know, it's our family. It really is. It's our ecosystem. It's like all, you know, one big being, one big creation, you know, it's like one big body that we're all a part of, and everything is related to everything else. And the way we approach others affects the whole. It's like throwing a stone into a body of water and the ripples go out. We all understand that concept. Everyone here does, or we wouldn't be here in this room. And sometimes, you know, some people and circumstances are harder to find the love than others. And another thing that we've learned is that everything is somebody's attempt at love, no matter how messed up it is. You know, that's the inspiration. It's love of something somewhere. And if we can remember that, maybe it can help us soften our hearts, as Anne Darby would say, to let go of the judgment, soften our hearts and recognize that we're all, one of my teachers in a class said, it's like we land here on planet Earth and we're like the children in the game Pin the Tail with the Donkey, right? Emotionally. It's like we land here on planet Earth and someone, you know, blindfolds us, sticks a pin in our hands, spins us around and then says, go, go. And we're all running around with pins, you know, jabbing them into things in hopes that we find the right spot and win the game. So if we can have compassion for ourselves and the other confused children around us, you know, we're all confused children sometimes. We didn't really learn this stuff growing up, most of us. So, and that doesn't negate anybody's true feelings of hurt and pain when someone jabs us with the pin. Nobody likes that. But yeah, compassion for the little child in all of us who's just trying to get it right. I guess that's what I would say today. Thank you all. Love you all so much. And this space.
I love you all too. And thank you, Romy, for your message in the chat window that says, thank you all for all the inspiration, the exchange, the togetherness. Wishing you a good rest of 2021 and a great start to 2022. Love and peace. And I guess this is the last time we'll see each other this year. Because next Sunday is the 1st, I believe. Isn't it?
Second.
Oh, it's okay. Well, it will.
No, it's the second.
Yeah.
Second, yes. Second, yes.
It's
Yeah.
the second.
So
Yes.
it'll still be 2022.
Yes, it is.
And
Crazy.
I appreciate you all and have, you know, good rest of these holidays. And remember, you're all loved. And I appreciate all of you.
Thank you for all comments. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you and good time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
See you next week.
Wish
I
you-
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
See you
Bye.
next.
Thank you.